exploring inverse trig functions today. So to kind of review, to get an inverse function, so you'd be given your function. To get the inverse, you'd switch your x and your y, and then solve for y. So to get an inverse function, these had to be 1-to-1. So that means with your horizontal line test, you only crossed at one point. So let's look at your sine graph. Is that sine graph 1-to-1?
No.
Wait, yes. Oh, no, it's not.
Okay, so for that horizontal line, we cross multiple times. So it's not 1-to-1. So what we're going to do is we're going to restrict the domain to make these 1-to-1 so we can have inverse functions. We're going to look at the sine a little more. So when we have our sine curve, we're going to restrict the domain from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So we're just looking at that very little piece of the graph. So our range is still the same. Then when you do your inverse, your range becomes your domain, and your domain becomes your range. To point out some notation, some books will use this arc sign to denote inverse sign, and others use this -1. It's the same thing. They're asking the same thing. It just means the inverse sign. And when it asks that, you are finding the angle whose sine is x. So you know the value, you're finding the angle. Okay, so our cosine function, so since it starts up at 1, so it's different from sine, we're going from 0 to pi. That's our domain restriction. Your range is still the same. So in your inverse, your range becomes 0 to pi, and your domain is -1-to-1.
Wait, is that always or just in this case?
So your cosine is positive in quadrant 1 and negative in quadrant 2. So you're getting both positive and negative values right here. You aren't just getting a positive cosine. So that's why we restrict cosine from 0 to pi. Whereas sine, your positive and negative values are in the first and fourth quadrant. So we restrict it from pi over 2 to negative pi over 2. Okay, so for your tangent graph, we'll just take one section of your tangent graph. So just one piece in between the asymptotes.
pi to?
So negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 of your normal tangent, because we have half of it over on this side and the other half on this side. Other questions? Okay. So your homework's going to look like this. So find the angles whose sine is -1/2. So that's on your unit circle, so you can look on your unit circle.
Wait. So sine goes to pi over 2, right?
Negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Yeah. So you're looking in that range. Are you 11 pi over 6? 11 pi over 6?
And 7 pi over 6.
So are these in between here?
Wait,
How
what
would you
quadrants?
How would you know?
Okay, so is 11 pi over 6 between these? Is it bigger than pi over 2?
No.
No.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than pi over 2. Is
So
there,
then no.
Oh, for the
is there a way to rewrite it to make it in between those though?
find the coterminal?
Yeah.
Yeah, find the coterminal.
So instead of, where's,
So then it'd be negative pi over
Would it be
6, right?
5 over, yeah, 5
Yeah.
over 6.
negative pi over 6. So is there any way to rewrite 7 pi over 6 to get it in between those?
No.
Okay, so that's not one of your answers. So now we're going to do a cosine one. The cosine is from 0 to pi. So it's in the first and second quadrants.
Of 0,
Yeah, so where's the cosine 0?
90. So pi over 2.
Yep.
So that has to be between 0 and 180.
Yeah. So 0 or 180. Because where else is sine 0, cosine 0?
270, but that's not.
So where the tangent is root 3. So your tangent range is the same as your sine range.
Tan is the same as sine.
So it's in your first and fourth quadrants. And this is another unit circle value. So you can use your unit circles.
You have a unit circle with a chart on the bottom that has tangent on it.
Is it,
Square.
over, yeah, is it,
Oh, shit.
or is, yeah, 60-degree angle?
Yeah, it's not over here.
Pi over 3. Yep.
And that's the only one, right?
And that's the
Because this
range.
one would give you a negative value.
Okay.
Do you guys want a few more examples?
Yeah, but why, okay, so why is it, like, why can you change 11 pi over 6, but you can't change the 7 pi over 6?
Okay, so your 7 pi over 6 is over in this quadrant.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, that makes sense.
So that's why you can't change.
Okay.
But why is it negative? Why is the answer negative?
So why is this answer negative?
Yeah.
Okay, because 11 pi over 6 is bigger than pi over 2. So it's over here. So it's outside of this domain, of this range. So in order to get into that range, we took 12 pi over 6 and subtracted 11 pi over 6. So we went backwards on the unit circle. So we went from here
Oh.
down
Okay.
instead of from here around like that. So that's why it's negative, is because we're going backwards.
3 pi over.
Cheat sheet.
What is it?
-1, 3 pi.
Oh.
But is that between negative pi over 2
No.
and pi over 2?
So then would it be
No,
negative pi
so-
over 4?
Yeah.
Goes with that.
Yeah.
So there's your homework.